All right, this was what we got from the start. Now, for this problem, this is no calculator, right? So your probably tendency is to want to go ahead and start calculating, right? But I'm going to urge you to pause. What is the value of negative 12.48 minus negative 9.09? Well, we add the opposite when we have subtraction, right? So I have negative 12.48 plus 9.08. You okay with that now? Okay. Now, opposite signs means we subtract, right? And we keep the sign of the larger absolute value. Well, 12.48 has my larger absolute value, which means my answer will be negative. So that rules out C and D. And based on the responses that we got, you guys did that. Very proud of you. Excellent, excellent job. Okay. Now here, if you picked A, you accidentally added these instead of subtracted. Okay. But because they're opposite signs, when we add the opposite here, we have to subtract them, which makes B the correct answer. I did 0 calculations, right? Okay. But I know 12 plus 9 is going to give me 20 something, right? And 12 minus 9 is going to give me 3 something, right? You with me? Okay. So I didn't have to do any calculations. I just knew my integer rules. It didn't even matter that they were decimals, right? Which expressions are equivalent to 10 divided by negative 9. All right. Now, a positive divided by a negative is a negative, right? So again, I'm not doing any calculations yet. I don't actually care what 10 divided by 9 is, possibly yet, right? But right now, I don't care. Also, notice all of these have a 10 and a 9. So you don't actually have to do any division here to figure out your answer. This is only checking, do you understand your integer rules? Axel, you with me? I need you looking at my screen, please, sir. Okay. I want you guys following with me. These are important. All right. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So I'm looking for a negative 10 over 9 as the solution here. Okay. So for A, I have the opposite of a negative divided by a negative. All right. Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, right? You with me there? So I've got negative 10 over 9, which is negative 10 ninths. You with me there? Yes, you with me? So A is actually equivalent. Hey, can I get some head nods that you're with me? Axel on my screen, please. All right, now let's take a look at B. We have a negative 10 over 9, which is a negative, but a negative times a negative is a positive. So actually, y'all, a lot of you picked this one as equivalent, but it's actually positive. Does that make sense? 70% of you said that this was equivalent. Negative 10 divided by a positive 9, that's a negative. And then a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so that is not equivalent. Same thing here. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. And then a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so it is not C. D says negative 10 divided by negative 9. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so it is not D. Okay, and then E says negative 10 divided by positive. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. So this is equivalent. A and E are our correct answers here. I did no calculations here. Didn't need to touch a calculator, even if I even if I wanted to, I didn't need to, right? Or even if I was allowed to, I didn't need to. Even if I was allowed to, I shouldn't have, right? Okay? Because we know our integer rules. We can go through those. All right? Okay, this is just integer rules. All right. So understanding our adding and subtracting integer rules. We didn't I post a picture of these, Jeremiah? I went through and had a notes thing that I posted in Schoology a while back. You don't remember? Okay. I think I did. Maybe I'll try and go back and find that for y'all. All right. Which expression is equivalent? Negative 4.1 minus 4 and 1300ths. So negative 4 and 1/10 minus 4 and 1/13. All right. So here, remember when we have subtraction, we add the opposite. Okay. Notice there's been 2 questions already in the first 3 where they want you to know when it's subtraction, you add the opposite. Okay, so this is the same thing as doing negative 4 and 1/10 plus negative 4 and 1300ths. Okay, these are equivalent. So I haven't even looked at my answer choices yet. I haven't even looked at them. But I'm finding an equivalent expression, which means they probably want me to change my subtraction to addition. And which means I have to change my positive 4 and 1300ths to negative. All right. So now I'm looking through here and I'm finding an equation that, or an expression that looks exactly like this. So negative 4 and 1/10, not A, not B, plus negative 4 and 1300ths, plus negative, so C is my correct answer. So first things first, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Is a positive. And then a positive times a negative is going to give you a negative, which means your answer has to be A or B. Y'all, yeah, we did the same thing on the first 3. All right. All right. Does this make more sense now though? And I know you guys solved all these before we went through 1 through 3, so you were just using the answers that you got prior. All right. But does it make a little more sense? All right. So either A or B. Now, 156 divided by 12 and then times 4. All right. So you can kind of estimate here if you want, or you can work it out. All right. If you know right off the top of your head that 120 divided by 12 is 10, you with me there? If it were 120 divided by 12, I'd get 10. Well, 10 times 4 is 40, right? So based on that alone, can I get 468 if I divide 156 by 12 and multiply? No. Okay, so just from that, estimating, I can narrow down my answer to B. Okay, but let's go ahead and work this out because some of you don't love the whole estimation thing, and I am also very okay with that. Okay. My recommendation though on a test would be pick an estimate, flag it, come back to it, and do the long work at the end. Make sure you have enough time. You know what I'm saying? Yes? Head nods? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. 12. All right. So 12 goes into 1 0 times. 12 goes into 15 once. 12 times 1 is 12. Bring that down. Do my subtraction. Get a 3. Bring down my 6. 12 times what equals 36? 12 times 3. 12, 24, 36. Okay, 12 times 3 is exactly 36. So when I do my subtraction, I get 0. So 13 is the answer here. So I have 13 times negative 4. Okay, again, I can do my multiplication here. 4 times 3 is 12. 2, carry my 1. 1 times 4 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. And I get, and again, a positive times a negative is a negative. So I get negative 52 exactly. B is my correct answer. Oh, yes, Ms. Dushek, that's a good one. Hey, guys, real quick on this number 4, okay, when you look at this, you have 156 divided by 12, okay? Even if you don't divide it by 12, 156 times 4 is barely bigger than 468, okay? So even without dividing by that 12, your answer does not get that big. So you don't have to do all this long stuff. Just make your guess at B. And again, if you want to go back at the end and double check it with the work, by all means, highly recommend it, but don't waste your time before you finish the rest of the test. Okay, because these strategies without calculation are really valuable. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's excellent, Mr. Dushek. Thank you.